If at any point in your reality shifting journey, or even your manifestation journey, you find yourself stuck or moving very slowly, I recommend doing a round of purging. And some ways that you can do this are obvious. You can literally throw away objects that no longer match your resonance or your vibe or the frequency that you are trying to shift into. You see, every object is imbued with this energetic cord. It's almost like a little lifeline that is infused into the particles, invisible by most human eyes. But I believe that those who can see auras at a heightened degree might actually be able to visualize this. And what happens is that you can think of a gift, for example. Let's move it into the practical. You receive a gift of love that comes from a place of love. And no matter what the cost is, it could be very inexpensive, it could be free, but it has the vibration of love infused into it. This is why people say that when you cook with love, the food tastes better, because it literally is this energetic field that seeds whatever the intention is into the food or into the gift, into the arrangement. And so when you are building a life, like look around wherever you're at right now and think about the objects that are placed there. Are they placed with care, with intention, with love, with a vibration of carelessness or hate or, kind of like a grumpiness? Lower vibrational experiences. Think about what you are surrounding yourself in, because this will be reminiscent of the reality that you are anchored into or shifting into. And I believe that when your reality is predominantly influenced by lower vibrational things that are imbued with seeds of low vibrational essences, or painful memories, or fear, or whatever it is, right? That this actually impedes your ability to shift energetically, which impedes your ability to fully realize a material shift into a different plane of existence. It's a theory. I'm not saying that it absolutely always works this way. But I can tell you that when I was going through some of the hardest parts of my journey, when I did a purging session, it took my energetic field and lightened my load. And I literally did several iterations of this. I threw away objects that were imbued with fear. And at that time in my life, I actually threw away most of my apartment. I literally just went through and threw away everything that reminded me of the past or a vibration of fear. And because I was coming from a divorce, I had all of this stuff that I was carrying around from an old life. And my old life with my ex-husband did not bring me a lot of fear, but the life that I built after was heavily steeped and imbued in fear. So I had a bunch of old objects that were remnants of the past that felt just like it didn't fit me anymore. Like the style I was looking around at my apartment at one point and I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. This isn't right. You feel it, right? Because I realized as part of my awakening experience that all of the things that I had collected in the marriage, I had collected with a partner, and I had outgrown that partnership, right? And I had outgrown that life. And I was lugging around from state to state all of these objects and decorations that didn't hit the same vibrational frequency anymore. And so as a result, when I walked into my place, I was able to make it feel good, but there was still a part of me that didn't feel like it was resonating. And then afterwards, the life that I built had all of these objects with fear imbued in them. Like, I started doing tarot readings, and I bought, I don't know, countless decks. It was like a collection, and I loved them, but I would obsessively read because I was afraid. I was afraid for my life. I was afraid of dying. And so I bought these cards that were imbued with the seed of fear in them. And so at one point, when I realized objects had energy, I threw away all of my decks. I threw away so many decorations. Anyway, so the point is that is a concrete example, right? That one's obvious. You can look around your place right now and see what is not in vibrational alignment with where you're at, where you want to be, or where you're going. And literally change things around, transmute it, or throw it out. You have a box of old love letters from somebody who hurt you in the past. You're holding on to an old memory of them. You're holding on to a transcript of pain that prevents a transmutation from actually happening. You're keeping that old lifeline to them alive. If you're really trying to let go, then you need to physically let go. Otherwise, it's just imagination. It's just you lying to yourself that you're moving on. Now, nostalgia is a beautiful feeling, right? But at some point, somebody needs to hear this, at some point, it is actually caressing an illusion of the past. And this extends beyond just objects. So manifestations, pre-manifestations, before they actually turn into material form that you can tangibly touch and hold, will have energy imbued in them. And so as you are traversing different reality layers, you'll get previews of this. I've talked about this in the preview windows episode. You'll get almost a little snapshot, sneak peek view, and you'll have a decision point. This is where purging in advance before something really materializes can help you on your journey. Because let's say you get a preview window and you're like, I don't want to go there. No, not for me, not for me, not for me. As soon as you have that not for me feeling, one of the best things you can do is to go into meditation and imagine calling back your manifestation energy. Imagine purging from that manifestation, disallowing it to come into material form, to say, you know what, I've explored it, I see it's not for me, pull everything back, right? And allow yourself, literally, you can just be immobilized in meditation, laying down. Imagine yourself retracting any energetic thread from that reality layer. And this is an excellent practice to do if you are stuck in a place that is kind of like a nightmare. I went through a period of doing this it took a really long time, because I had about 5 different nightmare rotations that I was going through. And what I observed is a dematerialization effect of worlds. You can literally dematerialize worlds. And you can see this. And what I saw were these little, it almost looked like, well, it would vary. Sometimes it would look like pixelated versions of the world. getting less and less dense, and then it evaporating, like sometimes I would see like plumes of blackness that would seem to seep from the material world, like very, very faint black plumes of not really smoke. It was almost this energetic essence, almost like an energy, an auric field. And that as things were collapsing, I could see this. It almost looked like toxicity or negativity, sickness, just like bleed out from the walls and evaporate. And then other times I would see almost like the popping of reality layers. And so when you go into a state of non-action and you start reverse manifesting, you go through a process of purging where you're disengaging your energy from a material world. And this is why it's really, really important when you are really trying to break off a relationship that you do so, in my opinion, as cleanly and swiftly as possible. Because when you allow things to continue, especially if you're uncertain, and this is normal, if you're uncertain, you might go forward and you might go back and you go forward and you go back. That's normal. It's completely fine to do that. But it is like watering a seed. And so you're the gardener and you're going up and you're effectively watering and walking away. Watering and walking away. Over time, it's going to grow something. And it is up to you to see what it's growing into and decide if that is the type of garden or plant that you're aiming for and that you want to spend time in. And if not, then I suggest that you stop watering it. And this is hard for people, especially because in our modern culture, we're taught to still be nice and to hold on, or to allow people to have an illusion in their mind about what could come into fruition. I believe that it's actually ethical if you know that you don't want to go to a certain place to create a boundary and say, here are my intentions of the plant that I would like to grow with you. Do you want to co-create with me? But what a lot of people do, especially when they're in their shadow, is they keep it very murky, especially in dating when they're trying to figure it out. And maybe they still want like a friends with benefits type of situation. Meanwhile, one person is imagining and visualizing that they're going to have a marriage or happily ever after. And the other person doesn't correct them. It doesn't correct that vision in their mind. Sometimes that is a shared responsibility. Sometimes it is one person that's not listening to the other when they're saying, I only want this. And they're allowing their mind to go to places and visualize things that will never come to be, which gets back to the empty vectors. Like, you can't reality shift into an empty vector, right? Right? Like, who's going to be there waiting for you? Nobody. And so you're not going to be able to shift into a relationship that somebody doesn't want to have with you, right? That's like manifestation rape. We don't condone that ever. And so why would you want to be in a manifestation with somebody who is rejecting you or abandoning you or saying that they don't want you in that way? That's where you need to do shadow work, right? Because that's the ego that's fighting to be seen and loved. And that's a much deeper rooted issue than trying to create the dream reality that's actually not a dream reality. It's leading you to a nightmare and it's leading you to an empty vector. But I digress. And so then other times it is actually upon the person that is being silent and letting the other person dream something into whatever their mind is taking them into, when they know that their intentions are actually not to engage in that, but they don't have the courage or the conviction or the ethics. I feel so strongly about this that it is an integrity thing. And shame on you if you're one of those people that does this, because I have seen people spin up decades of their life waiting for somebody that's never coming. Because that person that is creating this illusion, this facade, the future faking, is not strong enough in their ethical system to say, I actually only want this little side thing with you. I only want you to be a side piece in my life. I don't want you to be a main character. But I'm happy with what I'm getting. I'm happy with the situation. And so I'm going to let you think that you're going to be a main character, but you're actually just a side piece for me. And a lot of people do this unconsciously, especially when they're in their shadow, or they only have a certain limited set of intentions that they are building with somebody. It doesn't have to be a relationship. It can be, other types of partnerships, friendships, and they're just not honest about what they're really trying to build. And I'm not talking about when you're confused, and I'm not talking about when you are vacillating. There are people that intentionally know and build relationships like this that are imbalanced and watch others sacrifice opportunities in their lives and hopes of building and creating and holding the space for something to be that is much bigger than what that person is intending. And this is also shadow work too, because people do this, in my opinion, because they want to feel loved. They want to feel like they have somebody obsessed with them or somebody that's really into them, because deep down they are afraid that they're not really enough and they're actually emotionally unavailable. And what they have to give is far less than the promises that they're putting out into that relationship space. So they'll promise a lot, and then at the end of the day, they're just always gone. They're just vanished, right? Because what they're getting from it is sort of like this narcissistic supply, although it doesn't have to be a narcissism. That's like an extreme case where you see this happening, where they just want the adoration and the affection, and that person putting their life on hold. It's cold. It is a cold thing, but it's toxicity, and it's not intended to be toxic, but it is when people are unconscious about this. And so when you have realities that are manifesting like this, the best thing you can do is to stop engaging with them and to throw out everything that reminds you of that person. And the most important thing that people often overlook is the digital files. Most of our life is digital now, right? And so when you are encased in a reality layer that is going in a direction that you don't want it to go in, or is a nightmare realm, or you're stuck, or whatever it is, right? Don't forget to free up the space on your phone, to delete files on your computer, to, if you have like playlists that you've created with somebody or for somebody, take them off of it, right? Take it back for yourself. Or delete the playlist. I had to go through that because I used to make so many playlists and I had to reclaim them, right? Reclaim the space on your hard drive for you, for your new life, for your new manifestation. Don't hold on to images. Don't hold on to documents or, unless it's art, unless you've turned it into art that you can share with other people. If you can't share it with other people, it's not art. If you can't share a song that was reserved for somebody else with somebody new, then you're still hung up on that other person. and you need to let it go. And it's a really great test to take a song that was reserved for somebody in the past and to share it with somebody in the future or the present, and to see how you feel about it. Because when you're really done with the relationship, it's like you've rebooted the song. It no longer holds that emotional space. What you're trying to do is, when you go through these purge cycles, you're trying to clear out that energetic, emotional placeholders that you have in your soul, in your mind, in your spirit, in your heart, on your hard drive, in your room. I knew somebody that was very attached to a particular person and had filled their home, their beautiful living space, with the energy of objects that this other person would give them, and held on to those objects years after they actually separated. It's your choice to do that, right? But when you do that, in my personal opinion, you're holding the space for the energetic alignment, the misalignment. You're keeping alive that which is trying to die. We're not trying to keep around zombies or illusions or empty vectors here, right? We're trying to get you to where you're wanting to go. And so clean out the caverns of the past. Throw away the things that you need to. Let go, really deeply let go, and go through the purging cycles as you need to. So listen, I am a reality shifting coach, and if you need help letting go, I am your person. I really am, because I help people process divorces, breakups, major life changes. I've actually been doing this for several years as a gifted and talented coach, helping neurodivergent, highly gifted people work through some major crises and life transitions, breakups, fallouts, identity crisis. And now I do it in the context of reality shifting and personal transformation and all sorts of fun things. So if you're interested in creating your dream reality and being able to shift into it by building yourself up to that, right? Because it's not like you can just map it out and go there. You can, but then you're just going to recreate the same. Like really, it's super predictable. You can look at your past relationships. We can look at the pattern of it and figure out what your unique puzzle is, because we all have a unique puzzle of a recreation. So if you have repetitive failed relationships, then you've got a pattern. And I love working with patterns and helping you figure that out so you can actually create a new pattern and a new reality for yourself for your next chapter. Feel free to reach out to me at sacredjourneyproductions@gmail.com if you're interested in this one-on-one coaching. All right, we'll talk soon.